welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be fun to do something a little bit different. So rather than purely the educational content that I give on here, I thought that it would be a bit of fun to talk about some of the things that nobody tells you about pregnancy. My name is Kitty Hackle. I talk about everything from trying to conceive, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and everything in between. Make sure and hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss my next video. So let's start at the very beginning. And one of the first things for me when it came to trying to grow our family was the fact that it's not all that easy to get pregnant. And while we spend the majority of our, our early adult years mostly, and our teenage years certainly, while we're figuring things out, trying to prevent pregnancy, when it comes to actually making a baby, the decision isn't the hardest part. Actually, it's quite hard to pinpoint both your ovulation, the time that happens, and make sure that you're able to make sure that everything aligns for the time that you're trying to make a baby with your partner. Equally, if you have any kind of medical history, if you've got underlying conditions, whether it be diabetes, thyroid conditions, all of these different things can impact your fertility. So I always recommend, if you're coming at it from a perspective of, I want to do this to happen sooner rather than later, as opposed to we're not preventing, to go get your bloods checked. See how your general health is. Are your periods and your cycles looking regular and not painful? If they are, maybe go see what's going on there. Go get an ultrasound checked out, or go for follicle tracking scan and see whereabouts your egg is in its cycle to be able to pinpoint exactly when to try. I know for us, having had 3 losses, every month that we weren't pregnant was almost like a loss. So if you want to avoid some of that pain and trying to figure out, there's always a reason. While it's really common for miscarriage to happen, they say one in four of us will experience it, there's almost always a reason that's behind it. So the next thing is that when we're so excited to be pregnant and so excited to have a little bump, it takes a long time for those things to show. So particularly with my first pregnancy, I feel like I didn't feel kicks until I was about 20 weeks pregnant. I didn't really show or have like a proper distinctive bump until I was at least 18 weeks. And I'm a tiny person, I'm a tiny human. So I'm only just barely 5 foot. So it took that long for me to show. Those of you who are taller, it takes even longer. Definitely the second time around, I showed it a little bit earlier. You'll see if you follow me on Instagram, I did some kind of bump progression pictures, and you can see a tiny bump from about 10 weeks. My body just knew what to do. It was just ready to grow this baby. But it's one of the things that we sort of don't see all that often, because we do this weird thing where we don't tell anybody that we're pregnant until much later on. I have an interesting feeling about that one. I do feel like you should certainly tell your support people if for some reason your little one was not to be well, you were to require a little bit more intervention, or your baby just simply wasn't for this world, that you would want those people who are closest to you to be able to support you through that time. Anyway, that's a whole other video. But those changes, those pregnancy changes, aside from the yucky ones like early pregnancy nausea, first trimester fatigue, you don't tend to feel a whole lot of the other ones until quite a bit later on, until you're almost over halfway. The next big thing that people don't talk about is pregnancy anxiety. Certainly amplified for those of us who have had a rocky pregnancy or a rocking trying to conceive journey where this is just the most precious bundle. For those of us carrying rainbow babies, I'm thinking of you. This little baby here, actually, I didn't even announce, Archer and my baby Atticus were both rainbow babies, but worrying about how things are progressing, checking in, feeling every teeny niggle and being concerned about it. The anxiety around carrying your baby is huge, and is something that a lot of people don't think about. They just talk about that sort of glorious pregnancy, emanating this energy that, is seen from across the fields. And that's not always the way. A lot of us feel frumpy, tired and anxious. And that's also okay. The next thing that people don't talk about is that brain fog. For me, I felt it almost as much postpartum as I did in pregnancy. So the hormones, that sort of cascade, that cocktail of hormones that's flowing through our body also impacts your brain. And they say that it means that we are better parents because we are in on our babies. We are focusing on how they are doing developmentally, how they are reaching their milestones, and what their direct needs are. But it does mean that you'll miss that one train or that appointment, or you'll forget what day it is, like I sometimes do. And using that as a reason is very valid, I'll have you know. One of the things that I felt certainly first time round and less so this time round because I simply knew what my baby really needed is just how overwhelming the baby market is. If you're trying to start a new business, I'm telling you that's the place to start. You could spend easily €1,000 on a fancy schmancy buggy. You could spend heaps of money on just the perfect cot for your baby when they might never want to sleep in it. So certainly, if you can, either try not to immerse yourself in it. You know, Google likes to send you that direction. The minute you get a positive pregnancy test and you tell someone, or you type in the word pregnant, all of these ideas will come at you and all of the ads, and it's easy to feel very overwhelmed with that. But if you're looking for what the real, you know, from a more minimalist perspective, things that you might need, what I would consider baby essentials, I'm going to be putting a whole video up on that really soon, as well as some of the things that me personally I did not invest in when it came to having. The next thing, without being too much of a bummer or a downer, is that sometimes we don't all feel super duper chirpy and happy the whole way through our pregnancies. That sometimes that cocktail of hormones hits us in a funny way, whether it be to previous births or previous birth experiences or losses, or whether it's simply just due to those hormones themselves. It's quite common for many of us to experience antenatal depression. So we talk a lot about postnatal depression once our baby is actually here, but antenatal depression is almost as common, and that's depression during your pregnancy. Whether it's due to the fact that it's simply those hormones, whether it's due to previous experiences, or whether it's simply due to the fact that you are not sleeping a whole lot, you're feeling a little bit frumpy, you're finding it hard to get used to this new body. All of those reasons and feelings are totally valid. And in fact, it might be due to none of those, and simply the point to blame is those hormones, or having a hyperemphasis and not being able to eat or enjoy food or enjoy your other kiddos. All of those are so valid, and seeking help during that time is so important. Having someone who's going to be able to carry you through that time and hold your hand is no amount of money could buy. On a lot lighter note, it's really hard to dress yourself when you're pregnant. I feel like I really only figured out how to dress for my body type, short and round, when it came to prior to falling pregnant. And the minute that I started to develop a bump, I had to relearn how to do that all over again. And it's something that people don't really talk about because I guess it's just not a known thing unless you buy bump specific clothing. Or it's hard. Every day I had to stand in front of the mirror and go, oh my gosh. And I'm not somebody who's into fashion. I'm not somebody who's into, you know, generally I just wear the same floral dress all day, every day. So for me, it was something that I really had to think about and go, oh my gosh, this looks so horrific or so interesting, or make sure that maybe my midriff wasn't showing because that wasn't really the look I was going for. So investing in really high quality essential pieces, like for me this time round, it was t-shirt dresses, it was high-waisted bicycle shorts that were specific to pregnancy, that during having a summer baby I relied on so heavily. I would quite literally wash this one pair of bicycle shorts over and over and over again to make sure that I could have them available for the next day, because they provided me with that comfort and support that I really needed. Yes, look cute, get your pictures, but comfort is just key. I will try my best to link some of my favourite pregnancy items. Sort of following on from that point of dressing yourself from pregnancy and just how hard that is, I did not realize, I was oblivious to the fact that your body kind of changes full stop. It never truly goes back to how it was pre-pregnancy. I'm not just talking stretch marks, I'm talking wider rib cage, wider hips, larger feet, things that I hadn't realized otherwise were a thing. And of course, I had to mention two breastfeeding facts. I say two and I'm putting up four fingers. The first thing is that your areola and nipple darken as your pregnancy goes on. The reason for that is that your body uses it almost like a bullseye. So their eyesight isn't fantastic. They see mostly in black and white shadows when they're first born. So that bullseye, with that dark bullseye as your nipple and areola darken, paired with the smell of the amniotic fluid on their hands that smells like the lubricating fluid that is released by the Montgomery glands around your nipple, create a really clear roadmap for them to find the breast. So the darkening of the nipple and areola is something that a lot of us don't realize. Equally, we all begin to produce that sticky, thick, honey-like consistency of the colostrum from around 18 weeks of pregnancy. So a lot of messages that I'll get through my DMs will be, oh my gosh, is this okay? What is this stuff? For a lot of people. Or equally, does this mean my baby is coming soon? And absolutely not. Totally normal for your body to start producing that colostrum from around 18 weeks. So I think this little guy needs to wake up and have a feed. I can hear him mooching. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next